welcome back to my channel, Carolyn. My name is Carolina, and today's video is going to be a very personal video that I wanted to make for you guys from the beginning of this channel, and that's going to be about my own personal experience and journey as a transgender woman. So if you want to hear more, please stay tuned. As I mentioned before in my past videos and my introduction video, I am transgender, and I wanted to include that part of my life in my YouTube channel because I thought it would be a great opportunity for me to educate and for me to share my thoughts and experiences and ideas about what it is to be transgender. And so one of the main reasons why I started this channel was because I was so inspired and so moved by all the number of people on YouTube that put their life's experiences and their own life journeys on camera. And I, as a transgender woman, was able to educate myself. I was able to ask questions. I was able to feel like I wasn't alone. And that to me was priceless. It meant the world to me to see people on YouTube putting their experiences, their timelines, talking about hormones, talking about surgery, talking about social issues, name changes, work-related issues, all kinds of stuff that, you know, as a trans woman, you don't get a booklet that tells you, hey, this is what you have to do. You know, there are certain places where you can find information, and there's, you know, information online, but when it comes from someone that has experienced the same journey that you are experiencing, that is very, very valuable to be able to hear from them and to hear their story. And that to me meant the world, and that's why I wanted to give back and put my story out there, put my journey out there for all of those people that need it, and for everyone else that wants to just simply educate themselves about what it is to be transgender. So I wanted to keep this video very personal and very real because to me this is such a sensitive subject and such an important subject to me that I wanted to make sure that I deliver it in a way that's appropriate, but then at the same time very personal, because I am talking from the heart. And what I'm doing right now, it's something that a lot of people don't do in my position because it puts them in a very I'm not gonna say risky situation, but you know, it can put you in a very awkward position for certain situations, like your job, your relationships, where you live. As transgender women, we have to protect ourselves from the, you know, ignorance out in the world. And I feel like a lot of people don't want to be out as transgender because they're afraid that they will be bullied, that they will be harassed or killed or fired from their jobs, or they'll lose their families. So to me, this is something very, you know, it's not hard to do, but I can definitely say that this has taken me some time to do because I was a little scared. I was a little scared of putting myself out there for everyone to know, you know, my personal business. You know, one thing is to do a hair tutorial or a makeup tutorial or talk about acne and, you know, hair, but once you're talking about something as personable as transitioning, that's when it gets real. So I'm gonna tell you guys a little more about my story. I'm originally from Colombia, so I was born there and raised there until I was 14 years old. I moved here when I was 15 years old, and you know, went straight to high school. I went to college here as well. I'm currently working and living in the US and with my family, well, most of my family. My transition began, I would say, about 6 years ago when one day I was just, you know, online and I found some information about, you know, what it is to be transgender because I had feelings of, you know, feeling like I was trapped in the wrong body and that I was, you know, having that internal conflict that as a transgender person you might know we experience on a day-to-day because our brains are one and our bodies are another. So it's very hard to go on with your life when there's a conflict between what's in here and what's down here, you know. And to me, I battled with that conflict for a long time, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't think that there was an answer or there was a solution to that problem, and I kept on putting it in the back burner. I was very busy. I was always involved in school. I was always working, doing internships and doing this and that, and I never really had the chance to sit back and just put everything on hold and say, you know what, there's something wrong in here. There's something wrong that is not letting me live my life, you know, a fulfilled life, basically. I felt very conflicted. I felt like, you know, if I didn't do something about it, there was no point in me doing anything. You know, there was no point in me continuing to, you know, live my life the way I was living it. It didn't matter what I did. It didn't matter if I had the best job, or if I traveled the world, or if I had a lot of money. None of that mattered, because in here and in here I was hurting, and I was having a lot of issues, internal issues, because of these dysphoria that I was experiencing from a very, very young age. I mean, I can tell you guys that I started feeling, you know, these feelings of gender dysphoria when I was probably 3 or 4 years old. I remember, you know, looking at myself and thinking, why am I not like my little girlfriends? You know, why is it that I'm not allowed to play with dolls? Why is it that I'm not allowed to wear dresses and have long hair? You know, those questions to me were never answered back then. And, you know, I had to battle that for a long, long time. And that's where it all began. You know, it's wanting to experience those things, those simple things, like playing with a Barbie doll, or, you know, letting your hair grow out and wearing makeup when you're getting a little older. I back then was never able to experience these things unless I was, you know, hiding in the closet or whatever. So finally, you know, when I was older, I started, you know, seeing on TV things about, you know, being transgender, and, you know, people that were changing, you know, having sex reassignment surgeries and stuff like that. But to me, that all seemed very far-fetched. It seemed very, you know, crazy and extremist. I used to not think of that as a possibility. I just thought, oh no, like, that's not for me, you know, like, I just want God to turn me into a girl, and I can just wake up one day and just be a girl, you know, from top to bottom, and let my brain and my body match finally. But, you know, of course that didn't happen. I continue to have these feelings, and they just got stronger and stronger and stronger with time. But I kept putting it in the back burner and just hiding it under other feelings, to the point where, you know, I just kind of assumed and just thought, hey, you know what, I think I'm just gonna have to live like this for the rest of my life. I think I'm just gonna have to be miserable and just try to make the best of it. You know, it's kind of like you're settling and you think that there's just nothing you can do. Finally, I had the guts to stop everything in my life. You know, it didn't matter what was going on. It's school, work, family, friendships, love. I decided to put everything on hold and really researched, because I'm one of those people, I love to research when I'm interested in something. So I started doing a lot of research about my feelings, you know, as a woman, and I was able to find lots of great information on the internet, of course, and then YouTube came about. And, you know, this is like when YouTube first came out. I don't even know, like 6-7 years ago, even more. I remember just looking around and flipping the channel on YouTube, and I found this video of this girl in her basement, I think. She was in the basement of her work or her apartment. I don't know. All I know is that she was talking about her transition, talking about, you know, living as a woman, and, you know, her plans for the future, and taking hormones. And when I saw her, I was like, oh my God, you know, she's somebody like me. You know, she's young and she's had these feelings of being a woman, you know, wanting to live your life completely as a woman. And that to me was like, I had just discovered America. I was just over the moon. I couldn't believe it, you know, and for that moment I was very excited, but then at the same time, you know, I immediately started to worry. I was like, how am I gonna do this? How am I gonna tell my family? This is crazy. I don't wanna, you know, go through this. It's too much. Like, I was feeling overwhelmed, thinking that I was gonna have to put myself through this journey, not knowing what was gonna come out in the end, you know? Because one thing is, you can be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna transition, but then, you know, you're not guaranteed that your family is gonna accept you, that your friends and coworkers are going to accept you, that you're gonna even have a job or not, or that society is even going to, you know, accept you as yourself, you know, as that new woman or that new man that's starting to live their life for real, even for the first time. So it was definitely a very scary situation for me. I became very reclusive, and all I did was research and research and research and read and watch videos. And the more I researched and the more people I saw on YouTube that were living their lives, that were making it, that's when I knew that I could do it. You know, they inspire me, they give me that strength, and they basically just push me in a good way to move forward with my transition. Because if I didn't, I don't think I would be here today talking to you guys.